Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is it's probably one of the first videos that I ever wanted to make when I started my YouTube channel. And enough is enough. It is time to make this video. So is anyone in here a huge birth story junkie? I love hearing people's birth stories. They are so interesting. I love hearing all of the differences in our bodies and our babies and our doctors and our hospitals, our birthing centers, whatever. I love hearing everyone's experiences. And when I was pregnant with my second, I was like obsessed with reading birth stories. And so today's video is actually going to be the birth story of my oldest son, Caleb, who will be 6. Now I will give just kind of a brief rundown of his pregnancy as well. We were trying to get pregnant. I was taking my temperature every day. Again, I'm a health person, so taking my temperature every day, charting it, it was a thrill, okay? It took us maybe about 3 or so months to get that BFP, that big fat positive. And one day I think it was DPO 10, and I thought, well, you know, I probably shouldn't test for another day or two. And by the way, this was the day before Thanksgiving, and my parents were here. I just, on a whim in the morning, I was like, well, I'll just pee on the stick, take my shower, and check it out. So I peed on the stick and set it down, and it's those little cheap Wanfo tests from Amazon. And I peed on the stick, kind of got busy with some other things, started the shower. And before I got in the shower, it was, 3 or 4 minutes later, and I looked over there and I was like, what? I did not expect a positive that early. And so in normal, I might be pregnant lady fashion, I took about a bazillion of them. Thank goodness they were cheap. And then I actually got the pricier ones, the first response, those were positive too. And of course I tested every day for like 3 or 4 days. You know you do it, you've done it, you know it. So don't even sit there and act like you haven't. But his pregnancy was very easy. I think I threw up once. I was working full time, and you know, I just loved it. I loved being pregnant. I loved the new wardrobe that I got. I loved being big, and y'all, I got huge. I got freaking enormous. I am normally, my weight being normally in 120, like 118 to 122 range. I got up in the 170s with him. Actually, I did with both boys. And so I gained a lot of weight. And especially toward the end, I gained a lot of water weight. At 36 weeks pregnant, my mom passed away. And we knew it was coming. I wasn't able to go down for her memorial service or anything because I was so pregnant at the time. And something my mom told me, and maybe this is a whole nother video, but something my mom told me when it was one of the last times that I talked with her when she was like lucid. She told me, you do what you need to do to take care of you and that baby. If you can't come down, you know, and be with me, that is okay. And that gave me such a peace about staying where I was in Indiana. And yeah, I'm so glad she told me that. I knew I was pleasing her in that. I was kind of fulfilling her wishes for me. And so anyway, about a week after that, or maybe even less than a week after that, I woke up in the middle of the night. It was probably like 11 or 12, and I was having regular contractions. They were not painful, but they were consistent, about every 8 minutes. And so I waited all night. Of course, I was up all night long timing the contractions, and I waited until Mike's alarm went off at 5 something to go to work, and because I didn't want to wake him up if it was nothing. And so we went to the hospital and just to get checked out. So they put me in L&D, and they did blood pressure, and it turns out my blood pressure was high when I was sitting up and standing up, and it was fine when I would lay down again. And they did a test for preeclampsia to see if there was any protein in my urine, and there was not. So I was put on bed rest, which, having no children at the time and working full time and not really enjoying my work, bed rest was the greatest gift ever. It was like 3 weeks of laying around on the couch doing crossword puzzles, which I got really into, and it was fantastic. That was just kind of the beginning of vacation for me, and he said, we will induce you at 39 weeks, and I thought, let's do it. Not knowing as much as I do now about inductions, but I had to come in 2 or 3 times a week for the non-stress test, which is where you sit in a recliner hooked up to a blood pressure monitor, and every time you blood pressure monitor and fetal monitor and a heart rate monitor, so measuring my heart rate and baby's heart rate, and also having this little button in my hand, so every time I felt him kick or move, I hit that button. So anyway, it was fantastic. I loved the ladies in the office. It was something to look forward to, getting out of the house a couple of times a week to go to that. I wasn't on strict bed rest, but they told me, you know, just get up to like make yourself some food and take a shower, and that's it. And so yeah, did that. And at 39 weeks, I went in to be induced. I went in on Tuesday, the 26th of July, 2011, and I'd had my last meal at Texas Roadhouse and thought, okay, we're gonna get the induction started, and you know, maybe we'll have a baby in the morning. So what they did was they started by, you know, they hooked me up to the IV. I was there about 7 p.m. on that Tuesday night, and they hooked me up to the IV. Also, I was group B strep group B positive, so they had to hook me up to antibiotics as well, and of course a fluid drip. So they were pumping me full of liquid, if you know what I mean. And they stuck the Cervidil up my vagina into my cervix to soften my cervix. And I thought, okay, great, you know, here it is 7 p.m. Maybe we'll have a baby, you know, by 7 a.m. That would be really cool. Well, they gave me an Ambien because they knew this would probably be my last night of good, restful sleep. And I slept like a baby. No, I didn't sleep like a baby because babies don't sleep, but you know what I mean. And so I woke up the next morning, fully rested. I felt like $1,000,000, and I was having contractions. They were not painful. They were like a tiny bit painful, but nothing to worry about at all. And I got the corner room with the tub because I was interested in water birth. And so I had that all ready for me, and a shower and everything, and a nice sized room. However, I was only dilated to like 2. Okay. So they gave me another dose of Cervidil. That didn't work. I didn't progress at all. Then they gave me Cytotec, which is another, what do they call it? Here I am doing this. Suppository. And they put that up there. That didn't work. And at this point, you know, here it is Wednesday night. I've been there 24 hours. I'm at like a 2 or a 3. Not too thrilled about that. 24 hours. 25.5 hours.
Of what?
Being here.
It's all joy, right? So you just got out of the shower.
Yes.
It's Wednesday night.
And then, you know, by that afternoon and evening, things started to get maybe a little bit more painful. And at one point they said, okay, you're not progressing at all. What we're going to do is we're going to insert a balloon up to my cervix to open my cervix a bit. And they put that in, and a couple hours later I had maybe gone to like a 4. My body just was not ready. At this point, when the balloon action started happening, that's when things started to get painful. And so this is late Wednesday night. And I was starting to get a little impatient because I was in pain, but I was not progressing. If you have been following me for some time, I have talked a little bit about the scoliosis that I had. I had surgery on my scoliosis when I was 19, yeah. And they fused, almost all of my spine is fused, and I have 2 rods against my spine. So knowing that I probably wouldn't be able to get an epidural, I went ahead and trained to have a natural birth, and that's what I wanted anyway. But an anesthesiologist came in at one point and she said, I am not comfortable placing a spinal block or an epidural in you because of your condition. And I said, okay, that's fine. I don't want someone who is uncomfortable sticking a needle in my spine anywhere near my spine. Again, I had planned on a natural birth anyway, but the pain started getting pretty intense. And so what they did was they gave me a pain medication that would like knock me out, allow me to get some sleep. And I slept like a rock and woke up and I'm about at a 6. And here we are, super early Thursday morning. Now, all of Thursday is kind of a blur. Hey, little baby. I am going to evict you if you don't have your things out by 8 o'clock tonight. Thank you. Because I was in pretty constant contractions. I want to say from the time when things got real to the time he was born was about like 19 hours, I want to say. So I've always kind of estimated about 19 hours of hard labor. Obviously the last like 8 or 10, like awful, okay? And so even after the balloon and all of my rest, I wasn't progressing. And there was actually a couple of nurses who work in my doctor's office who tried to persuade him to just send me home because I wasn't progressing. Just let the girl come back, okay? But it is protocol once you start the induction process at this hospital anyway, you gotta stay there. And of course, mind you, I haven't eaten anything since Tuesday night. I had like a popsicle and I snuck a banana, or Mike snuck me a banana. And I take that back. I did order breakfast that first morning, but that was it. Hardly anything in my belly. And if you know me, I get hangry real easily. And so here we are. I'm in excruciating pain. I was dealing with it with, breathing, and I had a ball. We took walks. The only thing was, since I did have very elevated blood pressure when I stood up or when I sat up, my walks were supposed to be limited because it really did get high when I would take my walks. And walking, I felt like helped, but then again, I didn't want to be in a preeclampsia situation. And so that's why I took like one short walk around the unit every hour. And there were times when I would go and sit in the shower, and I remember Mike was just aiming the shower head on my lower back because I think I had back labor. I think from what I've heard, that's what it sounds like I had. At one point, the doctor even came in and broke my water. And I think at that point is when things just got the most intense of the whole time.
I'm here. You can do this, huh? Squeeze it hard. Just breathe. You gonna come out, buddy boy? You gonna come out? Thank you.
No problem.
Right here. Oh, goodness. You must drink.
Eventually, Thursday night, after all of this, they started Pitocin. I couldn't even believe they waited so long to start the Pitocin. I kind of thought originally I would go in and maybe get the Cervidil, and then when that didn't work overnight, give me Pitocin. But they finally gave me Pitocin, and that finally got me to a 10. And so I was ready to push, and so I got my feet in the stirrups, and I'd even seen on TV, I think, where they had this bar with like and they always have a bar that goes up there, and they had like a sheet or a receiving blanket or something that you can pull on to kind of help yourself bear down. And knowing that most of my spine is fused, I knew that I might have an issue bearing down enough to push out a baby because I am fused all the way down to L4, and there are 5 movable vertebrae in your lumbar region, and 4 of mine are fused. So I knew it might be a challenge. but I was up to it. So I pulled like myself up on that, I think it was a sheet that they had balled up there, that they had tied up there for me to pull on. And it was 2 hours. I pushed for 2 solid hours. And Mike was there cheering me on the whole time. I even pooped on the table. Yes, it happened. But I'm pushing, and he just was not moving. He was there, but he just was not making progress. And I remember the David Letterman show was on. That's how I know how late it was at night. And Mike was standing there holding my leg, like my calf. And okay, fast forward a little bit to the next day. We looked down at my calf and there was a blue handprint on my leg. Apparently Mike was so into it that he was squeezing my leg enough to where it bruised. It didn't hurt, but there was like a hand-shaped bruise on my leg the next day, which is kind of funny. But anyway, so after 2 hours of pushing, my precious nurse staying past when she was supposed to go home, I think she was supposed to go home at 7, and here this was 11 something when I finished pushing. The doctor said, he said, you have exhausted every intervention here. I think we need to do a C-section. And I said, okay. I was exhausted. I hadn't really slept in a couple of days. I had been through, almost an entire day of hard labor. I was ready. Just get him out. That's fine. Just get him out. And so they gave Mike the scrubs. They took me back into the OR. They sat me up, and this anesthesiologist was willing to try a spinal. He tried over and over and over and could not. And he said, okay, I think we're going to have to use general. And that's when it hit me. Like, for some reason, the C-section, I didn't research about it. I didn't know anything about it because I figured that'll never happen. And so anyway, I said, and I heard them say cricoid pressure, which means place pressure here, which means they're going to put a tube down your throat. And I said, you're intubating me? I used to be an EMT, so I remembered that from my intubating training. And they were like, yes, we're knocking you out. So they did the whole put the mask over your face, count backwards from 10, which you never make it down to 1, and knocked me out. And
waste signature.
Okay.
And then it goes back to wherever that
Wonderful.
magic spot is.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, just as everything she went through up to the point of us going back to the C-section, she's gonna be really tired. So my guess is that she's gonna sleep for a little while, which is what she needs to do. So, yeah, but yeah, all the medicines that I use should be out of her system pretty quickly. This is just part of exhaustion
Okay.
with everything that's going on the past 24 hours.
Okay. Well, thanks, sir.
My pleasure. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you.
Guys, enjoy. Whoa.
Hey, Lee.
Look what I found.
He's roaming the halls.
He was scaring the children. No, he is the children.
He's the future.
There he is. Smile to the world.
We'll get him later.
Yeah.
yeah, and I woke up in my hospital room. They do labor and delivery is the same as recovery, so you recover in the same room where you give birth and labor, unless you are in the OR. And I woke up in there and I had nasal cannula giving me oxygen, and Mike was standing there holding Caleb, and he handed him to me. And of course, I'm totally out of it, but I was so happy, and believe it or not, kind of rested from that whole thing, because I got a little nap. I mean, it was maybe only 30, 45 minutes, but I got a little nap. And so I got to hold him, and he was born at 12:19 a.m. and my nurse was still there. Bless her heart. I think she was supposed to go home at 7 or 8. And she stayed there with me and even helped me nurse him for the first time. And then she went home. Bless her heart. But then it was just the reality of you've been through all this, you've even been knocked out, you had a baby, now you have to feed this baby. Now you have to learn something completely new. And he was 7 pounds, 14 ounces. Is that right? He was just so small and so skinny and just, oh, I just couldn't even believe how tiny he was. And he wasn't even he was kind of an average size baby too. He nursed great. He nursed every 2 hours pretty much on the dot. When my milk came in, all was right in the world again. And I'll do a nursing story some other day. But yeah, I mean, we went in on a Tuesday night and we left on a Sunday morning. That is one freaking long hospital stay. And it was like my labor was as long as I was there after he was born. So, I mean, I don't know if anyone has a story like this. If you have a birth story that you would like to share and you have a YouTube channel and you've done this, please link it below because again, Birth Story Junkie, love to read them. And if any of these things that I mentioned happen to you, leave it in the comment below. Again, I love to find people who've kind of been through similar situations as I have. And I hope you enjoyed this today. So stay tuned. I'm going to be doing a pregnancy and birth story of Brayden. His is probably going to be a lot shorter. And you'll see why when you see that video. Please be sure to give me a thumbs up if you like this. And of course, if you're new here, click over here on my face so you can subscribe and see all of my videos. And I've got some related videos over here that I think you might enjoy as well. Hope you're having a wonderful day and I'll see you next time. Bye.